Back there and fix it. Whatever's going on, fix it. Bring me my wife.
Doctors continued to work on Kara, but she had been left hemorrhaging too long, and the damage, it had already been done.
And I was out there for 45 minutes, an hour. The same two residents came out with some other doctor that I've never seen before, and they told me that she was gone, and there was nothing else they could do.
You heard right. The news of Kara's death was delivered to Charles by two resident doctors in training and by a third doctor that Charles had never met before.
I want to be very clear as we talk about this that it's important to me that I share the message that I am very clear that the majority of doctors, such as yourself, are dedicated men and women who dedicate their lives to the betterment of their patients and commit their lives to bettering the lives and saving the lives in many instances of men and women under their care. However, there are the select few, there are far and few between, that have absolute disregard for precious souls. And for me, there's an issue, and I'll share this with you. There's an issue. I know we're kind of getting off the racial point, but I want to kind of this is gonna just bear with me for a second. So there's an issue in my wife's case of horrible neglect, but also there's a real issue of lack of fundamental human decency, even beyond what you all see in the complaint. What I mean by that is this: when my wife finally passed, early on the morning of the 13th, and they came out to deliver the news, the doctor that was responsible for her care never even came out.
Are you serious?
He sent residents to deliver the news.
Oh my God.
That's unheard of. I mean, that's unheard of.
Wow.
Furthermore, as in the subsequent days, as the hospital began to circle the wagons and send administrators and people to come by, because obviously, keep in mind, at this point, I'm still dealing with this situation. I still have a newborn, right? So I'm in the hospital as I would have been as a new father, waiting for him to be discharged, change diapers, doing feedings, and the whole nine.
He never left the hospital until Langston was discharged.
Yeah, so
he came to the condo to tell me that Kara had passed, and then he left, and he did not leave that hospital again until he walked out with Langston.
So, to that point, gentlemen, what happened was I'm there, and people are coming by expressing their condolences and circling their wagons and doing the PC thing. And at one point, a woman who was head of the OB department came by to speak with me, along with her lieutenant. And she asked me if there was anything that she could do for me, and I made the point to tell her that the doctor responsible, who you'll see in the complaint, Dr. Naeem, never came to speak to the family and still had not been by there, right?
Can I ask you, what did Dr. Naeem say when he finally did speak with you all?
He did a lot. He was very nervous, very indirect, and very unwilling to accept responsibility.
And wouldn't make eye contact with you.
And would not make eye contact, and even suggested that he didn't know what went wrong. Hopefully an autopsy would give us some answers. Maybe
these things just happen.
Sometimes these things happen. There's no explanation. And even went as far as to suggest that maybe she had some sort of heart condition.
Which she did not.
So the question I asked Dr. Naeem is, it was clear that I wasn't going to get any clarity from him, and it was painful. So you got to think, at this point, not only am I in this room, but my in-laws are there. I have some friends that are there. My mom is there. And then I'm just watching him BS us. I asked him the question. So I just have a question for her. I said, if this was your wife, what would you have done differently? And this will give you an idea once again to what we were dealing with. His response to me was, what would I have done differently as a doctor or as a husband?
What does that mean?
Precisely. At which point, there's only, I am.
He exercised a great deal of restraint. He never raised his voice. He was very calm.
He almost ended up on Beverly Boulevard and got thrown out the hospital window. But I asked him to leave at that point because it was clear that this was going to go very bad. And not only am I thinking about trying to make sure that I represent my wife and my children well, I can't be responsible for what her brothers, who are in a lot of pain, are going to do as well, right? And yeah, so
it's very
it's bad. It's bad.
Remember, not only does the United States have the highest maternal mortality rate of any industrialized nation in the world, but black women in the United States are 4 times more likely than non-black women to die during and immediately after childbirth. So as uncomfortable as it may be for some, race is a factor in maternal mortality in this country. Knowing this, we asked Charles whether or not he considered the role that race may have played in Kira's death.
Just to be very honest and very transparent, this is so painful and difficult for me to get my mind around. When I think about the fact that the color of her skin could have possibly gotten her back into that OR an hour, maybe 2 hours earlier, it's tough. And I have, just to be very honest, I have a very good friend of mine whose wife is a physician, and before I was even prepared to look at this situation through those lenses, she made that point. She said to me, Charles, that oftentimes being in these hospitals, these doctors just don't see our people through the lens of humanity. And they just, when they look at African American women, they don't see their wife and they don't see their mothers. And for me, that's a very painful scenario. I am as proud as I am and as unapologetically black as I am a lover of all people, and I can't imagine that had I been in that situation, the role been reversed, that I would not see this person, regardless of color, as a person fundamentally first.
Now, before you think, there they go pulling the race card, please consider this. There is something called unconscious bias, and everyone, regardless of race, suffers from it. Though we may not always be aware of it, subconsciously this bias informs how we perceive and interact with people. And multiple studies have now confirmed that the health outcomes of both women and of people of color may at times be adversely affected by the unconscious bias of healthcare providers.
When you talk about black and brown people, and also women, far too often, there is victim blaming around circumstances.
Yes, sir.
Right? There is, if we're talking about social justice, if we're talking about police brutality, it is, he shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have been wearing this. He shouldn't have conducted himself in this way. If it's a women's issue, when we talk about women's health, we talk about reproductive justice, we talk about maternal health, well, was she getting the right prenatal care? Did she have preeclampsia? Were there contributing factors? And the thing about it, when we talk about Kira Dixon Johnson, not this time. We're talking about a woman that had adequate health care, that was exceptionally diligent about her prenatal care. You know how I know? Because I made those drives to the drugstore in the middle of the night to make sure that she didn't miss a prenatal vitamin. I was at every single prenatal visit for both of my sons, right? So this is not what I think. This is what I know. And when we talk about a woman that was at a first-rate medical facility, talking about a middle-class African-American woman, I think that's why her story is resonating so much, because there's no opportunity to victim blame.
To otherize, exactly, yeah.
You raise a very good point, because I think the reality is that all women and all people of color, even those that have means like Kira Johnson, can be affected negatively by unconscious bias in healthcare. And that is why Charles and Judge Hatchett, through social media outreach and advocacy, are working so hard to change things. Their hope?
We hope that by raising awareness, people will go in with eyes open. I want people to speak Kira Johnson's name. Hey, do you know about what happened to Kira Johnson at Cedars-Sinai Hospital? And what are you going to do to make sure this doesn't happen to me? Right? Understand the signs. Understand to speak up. Understand how to be an advocate for your loved ones.
Charles and Judge Hatchett have created a website and multiple social media platforms aimed at providing critical information for pregnant women and their families.
The website is the number 4 Kira, Kira, the number 4 moms. So 4 Kira, 4 moms. That's the website, 4Kira4moms.com, but also 4Kira4moms on all social media. We'll be sharing lots of resources, things to look for when we talk about postpartum hemorrhage. Because like you said, and in Kira's situation, the thing about it is postpartum hemorrhage happens. But this did not have to happen. Before this tragedy came to my doorstep, I was clueless. I did not understand that this was something that was still happening. Certainly in the United States in 2016, to women that are healthy and who have adequate health care. And what we found as women are coming out of the woodworks with their horror stories. So we also have the issue not only of women that unfortunately are losing their lives due to preventable circumstances around childbirth, but we have the issue of women that are suffering severe life-altering injuries. Right? That could be, very importantly, that could be prevented. And so I wasn't aware. And so by raising awareness, we hope people will be more diligent. There'll be more accountability. There'll be dialogue between healthcare providers and patients to ask questions, to speak up, to understand. And we're not on a witch hunt. We're not trying to crucify anybody. We are on a crusade to make sure that what happened to us, that what happened to my sons, that what happened to our family never happens to anybody else. And that's the most important thing. There's nothing that I can do that will bring my wife back. But it's important for me to leverage the platform that my mother has, that intentionally been able to bring to this issue, to bring some awareness and bring some change.
These children's mother will never come home. And I think the highest tribute that we can pay, and why I really support Charles and respect the courage and the dignity by which he has approached this, that we can't, as he says, and it's true, we can't bring her back, but if we can send other mothers home to be with their babies, then that is the highest tribute that we could possibly pay to Kira.
As part of their continuing effort to honor Kira's legacy, while both helping to raise awareness and to bring change, Charles and Judge Hatchett have gotten involved in the legislative process as well.
There is a House Bill, HR 1318. So wherever you are in the country, we would ask that you call your local congressional representative, call your congresswoman, your congressman in your backyard and say, please support HR 1318. And this is important legislation that will protect mothers and babies. Secondly, please go to the website, which is the number 4 Kira, the number 4 moms, so 4Kira4moms.com, and sign the petition. What this petition will do is we'll do 3 things. It will, 1, call for support for HR 1318, which is the House bill. It will call for legislation in the state of California that will protect mothers and babies. But very importantly, it will call for the state of California Health Department to investigate maternal outcomes at Cedars-Sinai. Because what we're finding is that this is, people are coming out of the woodworks, not only with horror stories at Cedars-Sinai, but all around the country. So our hope is that out of this, Cedars-Sinai will emerge as the model hospital that will be on the forefront of doing things the right way, and we hope to work with them to make that happen.
October 30th.
Oh, very important. Oh, and also, and this, it's just amazing the things that have.
That's why you have to have your mom.
Yes,
right. You always have to have mom.
She's my mom. She's my publicist. She's my counselor. She's everything. Attorney, everything. So thank God for her. And so October 30th, very important. October 30th, yes. We will be in Washington, D.C. doing a congressional briefing on maternal mortality, which is huge for us as we bring this story, share Kira's story, as we share the just how devastating this epidemic, and that's why I refer to it, that's what this epidemic, and we hope to get some further support. Right now, HR 1318 is closing on 70 co-sponsors, bipartisan co-sponsors, which is very important because these days,
this day and age,
and these days to get people to agree on anything, because we're talking about an issue that, bottom line, if you it affects everybody. If we're not protecting mothers and babies in this country, what are we doing?
Just one little thing. There's also a companion bill in the Senate, newly introduced, and that's S113. And there are two women senators who introduced it, and very proudly, I'm happy to say that Cory Booker has signed on as a co-sponsor. So that's a new piece. So we don't have as much momentum on the Senate side, but we're going to be building momentum on the Senate side as well, because this is an issue that is a human issue. It adversely affects Black women 4 times more likely to have these problems and die from childbirth, but it is a human issue.
Even when we are mothers, wives, daughters, and the pictures of health, prosperity, and vitality. Even when we are marathon running, skydiving, world-traveling licensed pilots who speak 5 languages. Our existence in this version of reality may end when our heart ceases to beat. That's just the nature of what it means to be human. But we do not die until we are forgotten, until the moment when the last person who will ever speak our name has spoken our name for the last time. This means that Kira Dixon Johnson will live for a very long time.
I just, loved her, and I had hoped that when my sons found partners, that it would be somebody that would be extraordinary, and she certainly was.
As Charles reflected on the life and legacy of Kira, he left us with one final beautiful and poignant piece of advice about life and love.
The way I describe Kira, and I shared this at her service, is she challenged me to be a better person in every single aspect of my life. Right? And what I said is to whether you're man, woman, if you're fortunate enough to meet somebody that challenges you in that way, accept the challenge, right?
If you want to accept the challenge of helping to make sure that Kira's sacrifice is honored while also helping to ensure that there are no more Kira Johnsons, please go to the website For Kira, For Moms. That's the number 4, Kira, K-I-R-A, the number 4, Moms, MOMS.com. There you can support the For Kira, For Moms campaign. There you can also learn more about House Bill H.R. 1318 and Senate Bill S-113. And you can sign a petition demonstrating your support for these new proposed pieces of legislation aimed at protecting mothers and babies.
Walked upon your Tajoli. Yay! Good job, buddy! Okay.
'Twin Doctors TV. Educate, inspire, entertain. Follow us at www.twindoctorstv.com and on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Stay healthy. Bye now.